welcome to the Retro Boost podcast. Special little episode here. The Game Awards. We watched them. I watched them for the first time in a while.
Yeah, we watched it last night. Had a great time. It was cool to kind of go through that. You know, you saw the game of the year, winner and all the awards. We had a really good time. There was a lot of laughs, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I haven't watched a Game Award show probably in north of 10 years. It would have been either right when it started being called the Game Awards, but most of what I recall is back when it was still like Spike TV. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I've watched pretty much every single Game Awards show, probably since it started becoming. It's funny. So I think we're in reverse here because I never watched the Game Awards when it had Spike in the name. I've always kind of known it's like Jeff Keighley's like thing, and I'm sure that became the case when they kind of split from Spike. But I've always known it as the Game Awards. I've never known it as anything else. So that's an interesting dynamic we have here.
The funny thing is, it was the same. Like, it's just who owns it, because like it was still the Spike TV Game Awards or whatever, and Jeff Keighley, to my recollection, was always the host even back then.
Interesting.
It's just a matter of it. Spike crashed and burned. It doesn't exist anymore. So like that's what changed.
Right.
So yeah, it was interesting. Because like I've been able to like keep up with the generalities every year. Like I would be aware of like who won the game of the year or whatever. And like there would always be those viral moments, like when a person got like an argument or like a guy rushed the stage or whatever. Like I would know about that stuff, but like I haven't actually like sat and watched the event since like 2012, 2013. And the biggest reason for that's just burnout. Working at GameStop will make you like hate the game industry. So like that's kind of what happened.
That's a good point.
Because when I left GameStop, it wasn't because of this channel that I do for like retro gaming stuff. It's when I left GameStop in like 2014. That's just when I fell out of keeping up with like new games in general, news and so on. Like I learn about most gaming news from you. Like you'll text me something like, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, I didn't."
Hey man, I still want to talk about it.
Well, I learn about it from you though. Like it's valuable because like I'll learn about like all that stuff. So that's why like it was just burnouts. Like I just didn't like keep up with the stuff anymore. So it was kind of cool to come back and step back into that and see how things have changed and in what ways they're still similar and whatnot. Jeff Keighley being visibly older makes me feel old. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny dynamic as well. Is I keep up with that stuff. I'm like so in tune with like what's going on and what's been announced and how it's being perceived and all this other stuff. And it's interesting to talk to you who's not involved in that world at all, and I think that's a cool conversation piece as far as getting other perspectives.
Yeah, because you enlighten me from time to time and remind me where the state of gaming currently is via playing. Like I would have never played the Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake. A lot of that stuff had I not known you to recommend them / get them for me as gifts and whatnot. Outside of those, the only new AAA games I've played have been on the Nintendo side of things.
Helldivers 2.
Helldivers 2, yep, that one. Helldivers 2.
I think you would have played that without me. You would have played that one without me.
I seriously doubt it because it's multiplayer only. So like that to me is like my kryptonite. I would need like a friend to play it with.
Right. RE4 though, I mean, I'm so proud that you played that and Dead Space. Like, you're gonna get, like, if you're gonna get a tiny bit of like the survival horror genre at its peak, those are two pretty good games for that.
Yeah, especially with the funniest thing about RE4 is that you got that for me as a gift on PC, and I just bought it on PS5.
Okay.
So I can have it physically. Although hilariously I lack the means to actually play it. Don't own a PS5, but one day, in 30 years when it's a retro console, I'll get it.
No, I mean your boy's gonna get a PS5 Pro, so I'll be needing to ship my PS5 off somewhere, and Just saying.
There you go. All right, there we go. So let's get into kind of the nitty gritty here, and kind of go over our thoughts of the event itself and the games and so on. Let me transition us here to this space. Engage the stream. So our intent was to live stream this, but it became clear that I really wouldn't have an efficient way to simultaneously be sitting next to you on the couch and be on like emergency audio zeroing control for when licensed music plays.
Which happened a lot.
Yeah, you know, if you mentioned Helldivers was one of them. That would have been the game ender for the stream getting DMCA'd. So we made the decision kind of last second to just not do it as a stream and record it instead, to then talk about it after the fact here. But as we talk about it and whatnot, because that's the start of it right there, the first question I have for you is, as someone who's watched every Game Awards, how did the big bad 10th anniversary compare to previous years for you in multiple facets? Kind of like, you know, what got announced, what games you were like emotionally kind of tethered to win, and the overall show itself, like who came out, what they did, etc., etc. How did this one compare?
Sure. So it's kind of interesting because I felt that it was a little bit smaller scale. I felt like in years past, the audience was larger, the stage was, you know, larger. I just thought this year was a little bit smaller scale, and I actually think that played to a strength because this seemed like a smoother ran show, almost like they've done it 10 years in a row. But there were just things where I just thought that it was a better experience. It was funny because you had me and you started to watch the show at the same time, and I kind of knew that there's like this like period in the very start where it's very like chill and calm and like there's not much going on. And you were like, is this gonna be the whole show? Like, what is going on right now? Because it was going at a breakneck pace.
Yeah, they were just like slinging awards out like no one's business,
Yeah.
and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, like immediately too. Like as soon as they came on screen, they were like, and the winner is, you know.
It's gotta be cool to win one of those, but at the same time kind of bittersweet because it's just like going and there's no like spectacle to it. They're just like, and also family game, Blatro, moving on. Like,
Right.
it'd be cool to win that. That's one of the awards that Helldivers won, but it's like,
Yeah,
it's cool and all, but you don't get your trophy. You don't get like the moment on stage. Like, it's kind of weird to me.
yeah. I think Tekken 5 was the first game to win. I think it was fighting game.
Yeah, it was.
We were like,
It was.
the Tekken guys are on stage. What's going on?
That's what I told you about Sparking Zero. I was like, you know, it's not going to be winning. Sparking Zero.
Yeah, but when you compare it to the last few years, you know, I just thought it was smaller scale. As far as games that were announced, I thought it was really good. There was a notable game that was announced in this one, and you know, we're gonna work through that. But I thought it compared fine. You know, you had a Mass Effect game get announced one year, which would have been huge here. I mean, I actually thought that game might show up here, but
Oh, what, Andromeda back in the day?
no, actually, it was the announcement for the new Mass Effect game that's being developed at BioWare right now, Mass Effect 4. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the announcement trailer for that was great. But as far as games announced, I thought it was great. As far as me like rooting for games to win, this was one of the more notable years for me, for sure. The year that Breath of the Wild won, I was very, very invested in that. I thought that was the best video game that I had played maybe in my entire life up to that point. And it ended up winning, which was great.
Nice.
But these 2 years are for sure the most invested I am in what games win. Notably because I played a lot of the games and completed a lot of the games that were nominated for some of the major awards. You know, this year I beat Black Myth, I beat Rebirth, I beat Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm playing Metaphor right now, so I've really had the chance to get a really good look at the best that this year has had. And
I've only played 2, one of which wasn't even here. Helldivers and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door Remake, I think, were the only 2 new release games I played this year.
Interesting.
That should
Space
go to
Marine
show
2,
you.
I would have loved to have won some awards. You know, it got nominated for I think 2, maybe 1 or 2, but didn't win. I mean, I thought it was a great show. It a lot of times these shows have like cringy moments where like something doesn't really go right, and
That's
some
what I
of
was
it
waiting
just didn't.
for, and I was kind of bummed that we didn't get that. Like, I didn't get
Well-
Jeff Keighley fighting with someone like we did with Reggie. I didn't get like a fan like pretending to be part of a dev group. We had taken an award. Nothing went wrong. Like, it went, like you said, it's almost like they've been doing it for 10 years.
Really, the only thing that felt like it was a mistake was I think Harrison Ford's prompter went out for a minute, but he ended
Yeah,
up
it
was fine.
definitely did. I mean, that's not his fault
Yeah.
either. That's a technical
No.
issue that you can't even blame on him, and he did a good job kind of dealing with it. He made it funny.
Yeah.
Like, that was definitely like the one thing.
Yeah, yeah. But all in all, I thought the show was great. It was a little bit too long. I think the shows can slow it down a little bit, you know, as far as total runtime. But all in all, I thought it was a really good show, and I'm looking forward to next year.
I think that's it right there. It's probably it's that moment right there. He starts like pointing and he's like trying to get him to. I just missed it. He
Yeah.
like points
No, you're
at the
good.
screen and he's trying to like get him to advance it, but they won't do it. It's pretty funny. He was definitely a surprise to see, because like, you know, the game itself doesn't have him in it, so technically he's got no reason to be there, right? So it was kind of cool to have him come out for that, because that's probably going to be in the running for something come next year. I don't know if it's going to be Game of the Year material, but certainly action. I think it'll be in there for. It's hard to say. We got to give it more time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for this game. You know, it's not on PS5 yet, but I've said it a few times. Maybe I've said it on the channel, but when that game comes out on PS5, I'm absolutely playing it. I love that series. I love the fact that the game appears to be good, and I love the fact that they've put so much behind the game by getting Harrison Ford at the Game Award. We were hyped with that. I mean, I didn't realize what was going on for a minute, and then I was like, "Whoa, that is really, really cool." It's a shame there was the teleprompter thing, but as you know, if you take that away, it was great. It was really, really cool. He seemed to have, you know, good energy, and it was cool to see. It's just good to see resources being thrown at that game, because I want it to be a success.
Yeah, me too. I was surprised that it's as good as it was. It's kind of hard to tell these days with some of those licensed games and so on. So it seems like it's a big hit. I'll definitely play it at some point. It seems interesting. I like games like that. Immersive sims in general. I've enjoyed the few that I've played, and it's something similar to that. So I'm all for it. Having him come out was definitely cool. Hideo Kojima was there, which is kind of like really cool, because he was like famously snubbed from one of these. I think it was 2013, 2014. Konami didn't let him come. It was during all their fallout before all of this stuff. Jeff made a pretty impassioned speech about that at the time, because he did not approve. That's why I think Jeff's a pretty cool guy, because he will totally speak out about BS like that without any fear of the consequences. I like him. There's a good shot. There we go. I wanted the stage. The stage looked pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah, it looks great.
LED panels all over it. They could do all kinds of cool things with that. I think the moment that they kind of used it to its fullest extent was that trailer for the other co-op-y It Takes Two thing. Where like it all went
Which
black
looks cool.
except for the characters. That was a kind of clever way to use it. Same for Okami, when that got on there. That screen thing like lit up like an art palette or a big canvas. So I thought it looked pretty cool. The spectacle was definitely there.
Yep.
So, all right, biggest part of the Game Awards would be the games, both announcements and the awards. I think we should start with the obvious, the awards. So you had a couple of things that you were hoping for here.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was just kind of like had expectations. I had some guesses, and what I was expecting didn't play out the way I thought it would. I think the winner of the overall game award was a pretty big upset. But I know that
Yep.
your biggest three would be like performance, music, and then the actual game of the year, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It was, narrative is there, RPG of the year is there, multiplayer game of the year was certainly an important one. HD2 ended up bringing that home, which I think is they've certainly earned that. Um, Metaphor won quite a few awards, which was cool to see. That game's really good. It's good to see a JRPG like that kind of break through. A lot of those games do well, but they don't view too well.
Right. They have their audiences.
Right. Seeing Black Myth win quite a few things, I ended up beating that game, and it certainly deserves all of the accolades that it receives. There was a few surprises for sure. I thought that Brianna White was going to win Performance of the Year. Her performance as Aerith in Rebirth is really, really, really good. She kills the role, and congrats to the lady that won. But I think Brianna White did a good job in the game and should have won. But
That was definitely the other one that was kind of cleaning house. Was Senua was winning a lot of awards.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think we joked about that once, but.
Well, yeah, because it got to my recollection, it was pretty middling in terms of its critical reception. So I was kind of surprised to see it doing so well here. But maybe it's better than the critics let on, or what reviews I saw at least.
Well, I think the complaint that a lot of people had about it was that it was just really short. The quality was there, the game looked great, but I think that most people's complaint was that it was just really short. But again, congrats to her. And like you alluded to a minute ago, Game of the Year ended up going to, I 3 or 4 of the games that were nominated for Game of the Year, I had completed. So I thought I had a pretty good chance to say, yeah, I played the best game of the year. And it didn't turn out that way. Astrobot, ended up winning, and kudos to them. I mean, I think that games like that have mass appeal, and I think that might be how a game like that beats Shadow of the Erd Tree and some of those games. But
so I got a theory. Might not be right, might not be accurate, but just a kind of gut reaction to try to think about why Astrobot won.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in an era right now where you see a lot of the same genres in the AAA space. As an outsider looking in, it seems like everything in the AAA space is like either it's a first-person shooter, whether that be a hero shooter or something more Call of Duty styled, with or without battle royale stuff, or it's a Souls-like, or it's a roguelike / roguelite, or it's an RPG thing. So I feel like a lot of the industry has been that stuff for a while now. Like, here comes the next game from this company, and it's a Souls-like. And that's not a bad thing in and of itself, because these are still great games, right? Like, I'm not saying that Black Myth is some copy-paste thing, or I'm not saying that Elden Ring's that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it seems like those genres are just absolutely dominating the space right now. Kind of like what battle royales were doing like 5 years ago, right? It just seems like it's the current trend, is that Souls-likes in particular are like super hot right now. But then here comes Astrobot, which is something that you typically only see from like Nintendo. Like, that has Nintendo energy. That's like Mario Odyssey kind of stuff right there, right? And like
100%.
People just aren't really used to that in the AAA space on a non-Nintendo console. So even though the genre itself that it is like by no means some like great new pioneering thing, I think it just seems really fresh compared to its competition.
Well, I think you're dead on. To be honest with you, I think that when that game reviewed as well as it reviewed, and it was getting 9s and 10s, and it was selling really well, when it got the nod to be not nominated for game of the year, I thought that game could win it. Like, it could totally win it. and and ended up doing so. Definitely didn't think it, as we watched it play out, but I remember when I saw it get the nod, I was like, man, it could win. Yeah, and kudos to that team. Like, to win game of the year with a game like that is a challenging thing to do, and it's certainly, me who would have never played that game. Now it's certainly on my list as games I need to play, because if the pros think that's
It seems like I think a lot of people also like underestimate games like that. They look at it from the outside and think it's so simple or whatever, and like you play it yourself and you're like, this is actually pretty sick. Like, Mario is exactly that. Like, Mario seems really casual from the outside, but you play a game like Mario Sunshine, Galaxy Odyssey, and you're like, this is actually like a really like super sophisticated technical platformer in the hands of an adult or an expert or whatever. Both of us got a real kick out of that guy right there. That dude was killing it.
Oh yeah.
He trades out like 6 different instruments, man. We even missed one of them. Watching the footage back, he does one that we didn't even talk about. He kept flipping instruments. It was really cool. But yeah, this is the big moment right there where they were going over it. So yeah, I never would have expected Astrobot personally. I thought that it would do well in, like, best action game, whatever, best family game, whatever. If there was a platformer category, which there obviously isn't, but if there was, it would have won that. I would never have expected to be game of the year. Honestly, my assumption, look at him go. My assumption was definitely Black Myth. I was going into this like Black Myth is gonna win. And if not that, then Final Fantasy. It's one of those two. So Astrobot definitely was like, whoa, good for Astrobot. Like, damn.
Yeah, for sure. I figured it would be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then Black Myth. I never really thought that Shadow of the Erdtree had a chance to win, because I thought that the DLC fact was too big of a challenge for that game to win out on. But yeah, it turned out to be that game, and that's great for Sony. I mean, I like half that list was exclusives on the PS5.
I'm about to say. So that's actually my next thing. That transitions us quite well before we get into the trailers and stuff. Sony, absolutely killing it. Obviously, there's some Xbox in there as well. Like, Indiana Jones is pretty much an Xbox thing, at least currently. It's a time exclusive, right? A certain someone was not here at all. Nintendo was not here, aside from one of those like really quick awards, which Zelda was in. But that's not the same thing as what they mean. They weren't here as in no announcements, no stage presence. Nintendo was not here.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. I can't remember a time where that's been the case. But they must have something planning, right? Like, they have to have a direct here coming up soon. You would think that they're going to hold on to all their stuff for that, which is fine. I mean, I get it, but obviously we don't know if that's the fact or not. So I don't know. It's kind of, I think it's just kind of been a fine year for the Switch, but nothing really notable. I think you can tell that the device is kind of on its way out, and I think Nintendo not being involved in this is a reflection of kind of where they're at. I think they're in a transition period right now where they're trying to figure out how to work with the Switch 2 and how to introduce that to the gaming world. So it sucks. I definitely didn't think that would be the case. I said to you during the show, hey, they haven't been here yet, which means they're probably going to finish out the show with something really exciting. Like, I thought it would be, what I honestly thought it would be is I thought it would be a 3.5 minute long Prime 3 or Prime 4 trailer. Like a meaty trailer with like showing you the new stuff, showing you gameplay, showing you environments, like really getting into the game. And we definitely didn't get that.
Yeah, I had the same hopes. I mean, I was like thinking that Prime 4 would have some presence. That's like the one thing right now that people are like kind of like looking forward to with Nintendo, like specifically. I mean, there's certain franchises that are givens, like, we're gonna get another Mario at some point. We're gonna get another Zelda at some point. They're givens. But Metroid is one of those like inconsistent ones, so it's like we're really kind of like waiting for that, and now we know it's confirmed, so we're like, okay, when's more info coming? And it's either just a matter of them wanting to control it at their pace with their own resources via direct, or it could be a reflection that maybe the game isn't ready for something like that just yet, and it might not be a launch title like for the Switch 2, the Super Nintendo Switch, as you are hoping.
Come on, Nintendo, do it. Send me my money. Super Nintendo Switch. That's what it needs to be called. That would be so cool. As someone who loves the Super Nintendo, I would love any homage to it.
Yeah, and I think after the Wii U catastrophe, there's just no way to do that. I mean, it'd be cool. I think it's a good name too, and it's a fun way to harken back. But they're not going to risk screwing up that with the casual crowd again via confusion. So but who knows? Maybe they will. Nintendo Switch, and they just call it that. It's just called Switch. It's like Halloween, the remake. It's just Nintendo Switch. It's the new one. What do you mean? It's the new one. That's what they should do. Game trailers. So the other reason that we're here, debatably the biggest reason that people are here, because I can tell you, when I put my mind back to where I was when I was just burnt out about all this, one of my main critiques was like, well, who the hell are these guys? They say it's the game of the year. They ain't my dad. So like the biggest thing for us back then was the trailers, because they'd be announcing new stuff. I mean, dude, like when Dead Island had a Game of the Year edition, the concept of a Game of the Year to me back then meant nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's just another way. Like I didn't live and work in that world, so I never kind of experienced the dilution of the video game space.
You turn into a sad little diluted husk of a man working there for too long. But it was cool to be back in that, to kind of see it again, because like for me, like I don't know what's going on. So like aside from Prime 4, I had no clue what I was going to be hit with tonight, and there were like two things that I was like, damn. So we can talk about that now. I would say I would defer it to you here, because as someone who's closer tied into the industry, what surprised you? What were you looking forward to? What you thought was cool?
So quite a few games. Some of them for obvious reasons, and some of them not so much. I'm going to start with Sonic Racing here. I know
Shut up.
I know they didn't really show anything about the game, but it's going to look really pretty. And it was funny because we had watched Sonic 2 before we watched the show. So I was just very much in tune with the Sonic stuff. But Witcher 4 showed up, which was cool.
Yeah, so that was like the only thing that I knew would probably... there it is. That was probably the one thing that I knew would be here, was Witcher 4. Because they had announced they were working on this a while back, and then there was some leak stuff recently, so I knew it was coming. But that was cool.
Yeah, I've put probably like 20 minutes into the third game, so I've played it for a very, very short period of time. Just hasn't, I have a lot of respect for the series, and know the people that I know who think that's a really good game. I trust their opinion. So I thought the trailer looked really good. I thought the character of Ciri, admittedly only knowing about that character what I know from the TV show.
So nothing.
I have right.
Not
so,
an accurate
I have a lot of
portrayal
respect
necessarily.
for the character, and I think the design's really cool. It certainly seems like something that if it hits me right, I will play for sure. The trailer I thought was really great, and I thought it was really cool how you were like trying to guess what the monster was, and I think that's kind of a unique thing in that series as well, because I've seen a lot of fans of the series make similar comments in the past. So I thought it looked really cool, and if it continues to look that way, I'll certainly be playing it.
It'll be shorter, I'll tell you that much, because you not playing 3 is like that's why Cyberpunk is the way it is, was like a direct response to Witcher 3's completion percentages and whatnot. So I feel like it'll be designed for people like you that either weren't grabbed by the third one, or if they were, got burnt out over time. Like they definitely learned the lesson with that.
Right, and before we move on to the next game, I think it's notable too that at the end of the trailer you made a joke about, okay, well that game's gonna come out in 5 years, and
Yeah, probably.
I think that's a notable fact about this is it is gonna be a long time until about this game. But again, really pretty trailer. I thought the style and I thought it looked great.
Well,
All right.
actually, really quick, like less than a minute here. It did look great, but also, I don't know that we ever actually saw the game.
Right. And
there were things in this that seemed to emulate the gameplay of Witcher 3, for example, like the way that she moved and swatted her sword. Yeah. But my guard is like always up with these kind of cinematic things because they don't really tell you anything beyond just building hype. And again, that's just the GameStop employee inside me, like being just screwed so many times.
Yes, it is, because I don't care about that at all.
Alien colonial marines and other things, man. Like it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I feel like you have such a cynical approach to all this stuff. I'm just like, this is great.
I don't even like want to or mean to, but it's just how it is, dude. It's like I've been shaped by my past.
Right. Moving on to the next game, Outer Worlds 2. I thought was cool. I didn't play the first game. I played. I haven't played it at all, but I think the style is really cool. I have liked what I've seen, and it's a Bethesda game, I believe, but it's coming to PS5 as well. So I'll probably give it a shot. Anything that kind of has that underlying sense of humor, like Fallout. I love that sort of stuff, and I look forward to seeing more about this game at some point soon. You looking forward in there?
Yeah, I didn't see it. I forgot where it was. That was a cool trailer though, because I had a lot of gameplay in it, so I like that.
Definitely.
The Snoop Dogg. I don't know. I saw the Randy Pitchford stuff. Borderlands. Yeah, I don't know where it is, but yeah, that'll be cool. Because that developer has historically made some like pretty killer stuff. So
I think it's Obsidian actually.
Yeah, they made some good stuff.
They have for sure. The other game that was announced, you were excited about. Onimusha is back. What's your thoughts on that?
So I've only experienced what I know of Onimusha from playing it with you, but it was really cool, and I own them all now. That I actually do want to find because your reaction is great.
Oh yeah.
There
you go.
Yeah. Okay, so when I saw this, subconsciously, I knew that this was Onimusha, but I couldn't like say it. Like it wasn't totally clicking. But those souls, like with you, I was like, I've seen that. Where have I seen that? I know what that is.
I'm pretty sure that in our reaction, I straight up say, because of the floating souls, I was like, Onimusha?
And I kind of wondered if this franchise is gonna come back because that show, like on Netflix, would have kind of existed to build some hype. You stand up in a second. It's really great.
I know I shouldn't have done that too.
No, it's because you're excited. I liked it. You shut up and you're like, oh my god.
Oh, that is great. I love that.
That's the best reaction awesome. You had. And it's cool. Going off of what I said earlier, it's also clearly some kind of Souls-like. But you know what? That's the Souls-like that I'm interested in playing. Because what I saw you play before was damn cool. And that's definitely a logical way to update this for current days. Because, before it was like a PS2 hack and slash of its time. Souls-likes are a great way to modernize that.
Yes. The idea of Capcom making a new game in this series with Souls-like mechanics is something that gets me really excited. The way that these games work and the way that they worked in the past is going to be very interesting if you put modern spins on a lot of it. I think it could be really, really good. I'm a little surprised that it said 2026. I felt like the game was it looked pretty good, and you have to assume that was in-engine gameplay without all the UI stuff. But it looked
Seemed to
good,
be.
and I'm a little bit surprised that it's 2026. But I can't wait to hear about more of this. Really excited about it. I think Capcom having this being their Souls-like thing, I think makes a lot of sense for that world and for that art style. I think it's going to be really cool, and I can't wait to know more about it.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
Okay, so Elden Ring. So just to kind of lay the groundwork here, Elden Ring is my favorite video game ever made.
Ooh.
Stop. And I never thought that it would be here. To be honest with you, that's not something that There you go, right there.
You hit me. You're like, oh, you said From Software, and you were like, oh.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that.
No, well, you apologize for it. It's funny you mentioned like how I'm so like cynical and jaded. I'm aware of that and like want to change that about myself, because I can recall the days where I had those kind of reactions, and I do miss those days.
Yeah, no, oh, is that when
There it is.
I reached out to you?
You're like, it's From Software.
Well,
so
I think
what have we learned
when
about this game since yesterday? Anything new?
Oh yes, I know just about everything about the game already.
Okay, because at first, we were both kind of like, "What is this?"
I was very puzzled by this, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why. There's a boss that they fight here, and I'll point it out. His name is the Nameless King, and he is I guess it's DLC. He's a DLC boss from Dark Souls 3. So they're including boss enemies that are not in
It's a
Elden Ring.
cinematic universe.
Yeah, so it's something we've never seen before. He's the guy flying on a dragon here in a minute. He's got a lightning spear. But again, that's the weird part about it, is they have elements in this that are not from Elden Ring. So how far does that go?
Technically,
and
it
are
could
we
go
gonna
all the
see
way to
other-
Dragon Ball.
Do what?
It could go to Dragon Ball, because Bandai Namco is the publisher for that too.
Well, I just mean that's him right there. Like, that's a boss from Dark Souls 3. That is not a sprite from Elden Ring.
So what would happen if a kind of photorealistic looking Frieza shot down into the arena?
Let's move on from that whole thought. So yeah, definitely didn't think that there would be a Elden Ring announcement at all. I just knew that they had finished the DLC, and the studio had said that they're done with that game. This is a standalone 3-player co-op game where there are 8 pre-built classes that you can choose. They each have certain bonuses that you can unlock via a currency that you get in the game from doing these skirmishes.
So this is like Tom Clancy's The Division, but Elden Ring?
Sort of.
Okay.
So
Alright.
you jump into a world, and you have 3 days to get as powerful as you can and collect as much gear as you can. And on the 3rd day, you fight the skirmish boss, which will be some sort of grand boss from the original Elden Ring. And during those 3 days, at the end of each day, you fight a mini boss.
How long is a day?
It's about 15 minutes.
Okay.
So a whole skirmish will take about 45 minutes, which is similar to HD2 and Space Marine 2 is kind of similar there, if you take your time, right? And in this scenario, you really want to take your time, because one of the coolest things about this game, and the reason why I'm so excited for it, is each skirmish is a unique map. It is a procedurally generated From Software map, which is very exciting. So each run will feel unique in itself, which is great, which means that running these won't really get old quick, because each thing will kind of look unique. Each thing will have its own boss spawns. They'll mix and match all of those, so the possibilities of how this run can go are really varied. But each time you run one, you get a currency called Merc. I think Merc is what it's called. And what you can do is you can spend that at the round table hold, which will be your hub world. You can spend that currency to put bonuses on one of those 8 pre-built heroes that you can use, each with their own like equipments and stats and spells and builds and ults and all this really interesting stuff that we've never seen from a game like this before. So yeah, it's a 3-player hack and slash, Souls game. And one of the best parts,
it's the prophecy fulfilled. It's a Souls game and it's a roguelite.
Right. So it's really exciting. I have concerns, and I it's funny because I said some of those things to you. Like it looked strange. It didn't look, the running around doesn't look the same. It looks a little bit more arcadey.
Yeah,
but I think that's what they're going for. But I have concerns about it having the Elden Ring name and kind of diluting the product with like modern day stuff, and I think that's okay, but it looks really cool. IGN got to play it. The best part about my experience with playing the OG title was playing it with my friends. So the idea of a whole game that is built around doing that sounds really, really exciting to me. And this is a day one buy for me, and it's a game that I'm going to be preaching. And I sent you a text earlier today about how I'm dreaming sweet dreams about this game. And what I meant by that was I have friends that will never go anywhere near a Souls game. They just won't. They don't want to spend the time. They don't want to do the reading. They don't want to look at builds. They don't want to do any of that stuff, and that's fine. The Souls games are they can be a lot, and I get that. But this seems like a great way to introduce that style to new players, and I think that it's something that has been wanting to do for a long time, and I think this is a great way to do it.
Nice. It's also got 2 words.
It does have 2 words. That is a great way to move into our next topic.
Oh God. Well, okay. So before we move on, I think the only other there's 2 more announcements we should talk about. I think ever so briefly, because it is just brief. It was pretty interesting to see that Okami is coming back. Because
that's interesting for me because I've never even played those. To be honest with you.
Oh, I found Sonic.
Nice. There you go. Cross Worlds.
Play.
It's gonna be Game of the Year 2025.
And that was it.
Yeah. And that was it.
I only skipped 2 seconds, so you can't even say that I skipped a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Okami was similarly short though, so I probably can't find it easily. Virtua Fighter was coming back too. That was a weird one.
Borderlands 4 looked fine. Looks like more Borderlands. I thought that it would start to, a lot of these series that have very similar styles, you hit a console or development generation and you just expect it to start looking really, really, really good. And Borderlands 4 looks just like Borderlands 2. Like it doesn't appear to have taken a technological step.
I thought the same thing in moments. There were moments where like it did look like that cell shaded stuff, but like really clean, and there were other moments where it was like some of the character models were like it wasn't really doing it for me. So it's not so much that this is Okami specifically that I find interesting. It's just again, like we don't see a lot of games like this in the AAA space anymore. So that's pretty cool, and it's also Capcom. Capcom's surprising us last night with some really cool stuff between Onimusha and like something like this, like an artistic, cool like action platformer.
Gosh, and that's a really good point. I didn't even really think about that, but Capcom had 2 of the more notable games announced, and I think they have more in the tank.
Yeah,
because
probably.
they've been sitting on a Code Veronica remake, and that game is probably almost ready. Like I would be shocked if soon we don't see some sort of really meaty trailer about that one. But that's a really good point. I didn't even really consider that, but yeah, Capcom really showed up. Wow.
They did. They slayed, dude.
Hmm.
Okami is one word. I don't have as good of a transition now. Is this one of them? No, that's not one of them. I gotta find
So Naughty Dog,
Oh, Doi. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Good job. Good job.
all good.
Keeping me honest. Okay, here it is.
I think that was it right there.
It is. Yeah, this is it. All right, so Naughty Dog has a new IP. Both of us, I feel, were both kind of just confused watching this, but
Yes.
then talking about it with Chris and Mike kind of helped bring some new perspective to it.
Definitely, yeah.
Slash optimism. It is funny how there's an argument to be made, maybe, that this is like, what's the distinction between a homage and just stealing everything outright? I feel like this game definitely teeters on that edge with Akira.
Yeah. Knowing more about, like, knowing that point of view now, and how much that makes sense, a lot of this trailer now makes sense.
Yeah.
Including the shoes, to be honest with you, which I really did not like the fact that there's so much branding in this, more than I've ever seen in a video game. But knowing that now, it all makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so like for me, the brand stuff was pretty weird too. I mean, like in movies, I actually don't really mind it as long as it's done like in a way that makes sense. Like in Man of Steel is my go-to example. Like I just feel like Smallville was realistic because of all the brands getting smashed around. But like there aren't like this has establishing shots that like highlight the brands, which annoys me personally. Like
Yes.
she's gonna play a CD on her Sony CD player. Like it's just like so forward and obvious that it's just too much for me. But I also don't know what to really think of it because we didn't get gameplay, so it's hard to say what it'll be. It looks like it might be a hack and slash, but it looks great. I mean, this is definitely in engine. Like it looks like it is. Like it's running at a like it has to be. So like it looks great.
Well, Naughty Dog's one of the best. You know, they know how to make games look really, 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 really good. But one of the funny points that I want to make about the branding thing, and I thought about this after the fact, but if the character would have put the razor down and it would have said Norelco, I think it would have set the tone for what we would expect for the rest of the trailer. But it looks great, you know. The world seems cool. I love like sci-fi, synthwave, cyberpunk, like that whole style. I absolutely love, and this seems to have some of that. The branding stuff I don't really like because it just makes me question things about like what the priorities of the game are. It's apparent that there were more stiff suits in the room, you know, making decisions about the games because of the branding that's in it. So, you know, I just have concerns kind of in and around that, and that might not even end up being a thing. So it's not some, you know, grandiose statement about the game itself. It's just a concern that I have after only seeing so little of the game. But it coming from the developer that's doing it, I expect this game to be really, really good. I expect the combat to be really great. That's one of the strengths of really all of their games. I've played all of the Uncharted games, both of LOU titles, and they all have great gameplay. They all have great dialogue. They all have great stories. I mean, Naughty Dog is one of the best developers around, and I expect this game to be along the same lines as those.
When the trailer first started and they highlighted the fact that Porsche was the brand of the ship, my first thought was actually that it was going to be a racing game.
Right.
Furthered by the fact that there's the news article on her thing that said like the Fast Five or whatever it said. So I was like, is this like some washed up spaceship racer who's got a go through a redemption story or it's like erasing it. Like, no, that would have been like crazy to me if they did that. But I mean, yeah, like I said, we got like 4 seconds of gameplay there, so we'll see more. But stylistically, it has a lot going on and it looks great. I would assume that that's on the same engine that all their stuff has been on, which is that Killzone engine. That company makes the engine, which they've been able to apply to like every Sony first-party title like flawlessly. Whether it be, I'm pretty sure Ratchet and Clank like ran on that, and then obviously Uncharted does, and so does Last of Us, and now this. Clearly, because of how the third-person aspect of it, they love their third-person games. So.
Yeah, they do them really, really well. The combat mechanics in all of those games are, it's incredibly fluid. No other studio has really seemed to replicate that in my experience. So I'm just really excited to see what the next generation of that style is from that studio.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It seems pretty cool. What's funny too is that the duality of man. We harp on the brand stuff, but we would similarly we would have harped on it if it was like Boney and Adidas. Like we would have been like, that's stupid. If we saw that.
And I completely agree with you. One of the things that I appreciate a lot that certain games do is they create their own brands, and I think that could have been the case here. Borderlands is really good about that, and Cyberpunk is excellent about that. So,
good points.
I think I would have preferred to have seen that kind of an approach instead of what we got.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird situation because the irony with that too is that like a racing game will have to, get the rights to license the cars, but they kind of need to because you can't have a racing game where it's not the real brands because it won't attract the crowds, right? The racing crowd will be like I guess it'd be the opposite here because companies like Adidas and Porsche would help like fund the creation of the game. And to your point, the risk there is like, cool, but let's hope that it doesn't like take away from the vision or the integrity. Which so far, from what little we've seen, I'd say it's not. But we'll see. It would be funny if it gets like insane. Like you got to go to this Porsche dealership and stop this guy.
Well, I think like when and not to have this small part be the focal point of this dialogue around the game, but like when I see this brand stuff, my brain goes crazy spots where you finish this quest and we're gonna email you a QR code for a sale, and I'm just like, like I do not want that kind of thing anywhere near a video game.
You mentioned one that I actually thought was kind of cool, unintentionally, where you were like, complete this side quest and you get $10 off Adidas. But I'd to get money off of shoes, I'd probably do that.
And so to me, like the reason why this is such an important piece for me is because like we could be there soon because of stuff like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And like NC2A is kind of already there. Every single time I boot that game up, I get a Madden ad every single time. And it's like a sale ad, like, oh, if you buy the game now, we'll sell it to you for $10 off. And like I can just see us getting there with this sort of stuff. But the game looks great. The studio who's doing it is great. I expect the game to be really good. But this is certainly an interesting part of the at least of this first trailer that we've seen.
Yeah. All right. Let's end it with the stuff that was kind of like or just like bleh.
I'm gonna start with your game. I thought the Helldivers 2 stuff just didn't look very good, and it's not that it didn't look fun, because I know that game is very fun, but the quality of it looked strange to me. So I don't know what was going on there, but it just looked a little bit cheap. It didn't look developed all the way. And then it launched that day, so I was very surprised that it looked like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a little strange.
What the hell is it? Yeah, so that was definitely cool having John Helldiver come out and do his whole little routine.
That was
That
really
was
cool.
great showmanship. But then the gameplay starts and like they're fighting like zombies on that street, and it just looked like a weird barren like prototype moment where like we're watching like beta footage or something. It got better the further it went on, but it was a rough start. We were both kind of like, ugh. So I agree. Presentation. Where the? I don't even know where it is. Presentation. Oh,
There you go. There you go. Yep.
some dude's little smile. Presentation wise, great. Execution wise, not so much.
Yeah.
Come-
I'm trying to think of what else was just kind of like blah. You know, I there was a Turok thing that was announced. I thought that I was a little bit surprised. You know, me and you kind of called that pretty fast in the trailer.
Yeah, I did. My senses were on point.
Yeah,
I saw
and,
dinosaurs
you
and
know,
I was like, it's Turok.
and I make this comment when we watched it.
Why didn't I write things down? I'm such a moron.
It's all right that I didn't think.
Can't even find Turok.
I'm just not sure that a third-person co-op shooter is really the appropriate thing for Turok.
Oh,
There's
I found
Turok.
Turok.
There. So I mean, it looks cool,
Yeah.
but I'm just a little surprised that a Turok game is to be a third-person co-op shooter. I mean, I'm down for co-op shooters. I enjoy them quite a bit. I love playing video games with friends. And that's kind of what I enjoy doing more than anything else. But it just kind of looked okay.
My biggest problem with that is that it's probably going to be dead in 3 months or 6 months at the most. Like those games, either they become the staple or they're gone.
Yeah, that's true. We kind of like the hero shooter. We saw that with Concord.
Yeah. And X Defiant from Ubisoft is getting shut down. Justice League made it 1 year and it's getting shut down. Like either they win or they lose. So it's hard to get hype for ones that you know are smaller in nature because it might not be around for very long.
Yeah.
I think that single player with co-op as an option would have made a lot more sense for Turok.
Right. The
Just having no luck here. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's the okay. It's after Turok. There he is, John Helldiver. That's a cool moment. He does a little smile and everything. Definitely funny. But then once it starts, you're just kind of like, like it's just weird. It looks barren and kind of unfinished with the street setting and everything. Word from the street, people like the content.
That's good.
The Illuminate are apparently like really difficult. They're very different than the other two factions. There's a slew of new weapons and stratagems, by the way. The obvious thing in the trailer was the vehicles, but there's a lot more. They have like this trident weapon. They have a big Reinhardt shield, like from Overwatch, the big thing. Like they have that now.
Cool.
Like that's in there. So they added a lot more than just the new faction and the cars. Also, apparently the zombies are called the Voteless.
Cool.
Because they lost their ability to
Oh.
vote for managed democracy.
Oh my goodness.
So that was cool, but also kind of weird. I haven't really regularly played the game in quite some time. I'll boot it up here and there and kind of play a match and see how things are going, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add on this. You know, it's cool that there's more stuff coming out for the game. I know people really enjoy it, and I want to continue to see it do well. I'm sure at some point I might play it again, but those were the times where I thought the game looked strange.
Yeah, that too, right there. It's kind of weird. It's just weird, just kind of weird overall, but cool stuff. I mean, shots like that are cool.
Oh yeah.
Like it gets better toward the end for sure.
Yeah.
I saw a guy jump on top of one of those and stab it with the trident. Like, there's cool stuff going on in there. So yeah, Helldivers was a cool surprise with some so execution. There were definitely some groan inducers though.
Yes, 100%.
A
There was a
theme
lot.
developed from swatching those. 2 words.
Yeah,
There's like
we kind of got on a string of some co-op hero shooters, third person, person, very like copy paste type stuff. And the funny part there is we started to get on a string of title names. And what was notable about that, Mike?
they all got 2 words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frag punk, tripwire. What was the Portal one? I got one of the words right in that one, didn't I?
Well, the Portal one was, you said it's going to be 3 words, and it was literally 3 words.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I was like, this one has 3-word energy.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. They're all just the same. Like, no offense to the people that break their backs making this stuff, but like they're all just the same. They're all like, what if Unreal Tournament, sort of, but modern, and then we're gonna add like one gimmick thing, and like this one it's portals. The other one, instead the characters are like goofy punk rockers. Like none of these are gonna last. Splitgate. 2 words. So like they're not gonna survive. Like they're gonna just like it's just such a that's like the new battle royale thing.
Oh yeah.
Battle
100%.
royales were like flipping everywhere in like 2017. Now it's these like arena shooters. Quake and whatnot can eat its heart out. We're in that golden era.
Right.
So we noticed
yeah,
a lot
it's
of
just-
that. There,
it's
yeah,
just
Murder
kinda sad to
Circus.
see.
There's another one.
Yeah, right.
What if it was Carnival Clowns? Like it's just
Right.
like they're all just like they got one thing, and like some of them like look visually interesting, but again, it's just like a really saturated market that it's hard for me to like care about any of them. Murder
And it's
Circus
hard
probably
for-
had the most going on visually, but the fact that it's so stylized is gonna ultimately hurt it, I bet, because like casual crowds are gonna be like, "Ugh, carnival
Right.
stuff." Like it's very very niche. I think that Splitgate has the best chance out of all of them, personally.
Yeah. There was a Game of Thrones game that got announced, which looked okay. That looked kind of cool.
hack
I
and
saw a
slash,
thing
right?
today where it's a mobile game, but I'm not sure that's correct.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's correct or not, but the game looked cool. I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and I think it's a medium that could probably come up with a pretty good video game, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to have like a big open world thing, multiple zones or whatever, and it's the world of Game of Thrones. Everyone wants to betray you and stab you in the face.
Well, I think the developer that makes the Kingdom Come Deliverance games would probably be the best suited for that. That would be really cool.
I agree. And actually, you should get on the phone after this and call them and tell them, hey, I know that you're working on Deliverance 2 or whatever, but stop.
Yeah.
Or Control A, highlight, and let's replace some stuff with Game of Thrones things.
Exactly.
Yeah, just nedstark.exe. Just bloop.
Right. That's really all I got, man. I don't really have anything. Again, congrats to Astrobot winning Game of the Year. Some really exciting stuff here, and looking forward to 2025.
Yeah, same. I had a good time watching it. It was definitely fun to experience that with you. Haven't watched one of these in forever. I'm definitely down for it next year.
Awesome.
I think that where did you go? Did you die? You're not on that frame. What happened? You got raptured. Whatever. Definitely looking forward to whatever Nintendo's doing, because they were obviously doing their own thing this time around. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Yeah, so all in all, cool experience. Good to see Jeff Keighley in action again. And I guess we'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks for checking it out.
Good night, y'all.